Let's give it a bite. You guys have been blowing up the comment section asking for more freeze-dried fruit videos, specifically things like berries, tropical and exotic fruit. And I gotta be honest, I'm kind of with you on that one. So in today's episode, I've got an excellent assortment of fruit. We're gonna freeze-dry it, give it a taste, and see how it turns out. Let's get started.
First up in today's freeze-dried fruit experiment is the blueberry. And all I'm going to do is just pour it onto the tray. I don't want to have them all piled up on top of each other, so I am going to shake that around. One layer of blueberries is all I want. And the thing about blueberries is they have a bit of a skin around them, and that kind of prevents the moisture from escaping. So if you want to freeze-dry blueberries or a fruit like blueberries, you're going to have to puncture that skin. I found this particular product online. It's called the roller berry. And check this out. This thing is brutal. A lot of little spikes on that roller. And what we want to do to use it is just make sure that guard is facing down, and then we'll roll away. That's going to put a bunch of little punctures inside those berries, helping the moisture escape during the freeze-drying process. Now, if you don't plan on, freeze-drying a lot of blueberries, grapes, even gooseberries or anything like that, then it's probably not worth getting the roller berry. Although it is a brilliant device, it is kind of expensive, and so it's probably not worth the money if you're only going to use it once or twice. But if you're going to use it a bunch, definitely worth a look. Let's get a lid on this tray. We got this lid from freezedryingsupplies.com. Great place for your Harvest Right accessories. All right, next fruit in today's lineup is the mulberry. Love fresh mulberries. Have great memories as a kid climbing up mulberry trees, getting purple all over me. Make that good mulberry pie. All right, we're also going to add to that tray some freshly picked blackberries. Love the blackberry. Let me know in the comment section below, when was the last time you had a delicious blackberry pie? All right, let's get a lid on it, pop it in the freezer. I do like to pre-freeze the fruit. Next up is the rose apple. Super interesting fruit, kind of looks like a bell pepper, native to Southeast Asia. Have you ever heard of the rose apple? This is a pretty simple fruit to process. All we're going to do is just cut it into, little spears, 1/8 pieces, and put it on the tray. These are also going to go into the freezer after we put a lid on it. All right, next, we're going to do a very interesting fruit. I have actually never tasted this fruit. Can you guess what this fruit is called? This is a fruit called bilimbi. It grows on a tree. It is supposed to be incredibly sour. This will be the first time I taste it, and it will be in the freeze-dried version. So we're just going to make little quarter spears and put those on the tray as well. Make sure they're not overlapping, and there we go. Perfect. All right, the last fruit that we're going to be using here today is one known as the soursop. It goes by a lot of different names. Where I live, it's actually called the guanabana. And this is a really delicious fruit, a lot of beautiful flavor, and as you can see right here, it is ultra ripe. Now, there's a couple different ways that we could process this fruit. You could either leave the seeds in, which probably isn't the best for long-term storage, or you could take the seeds out. I'm going to take the seeds out because they're not that difficult to remove. It is a bit tedious, but they're not hard to remove. Notice that the soursop comes apart in segments, and each segment has a seed, and all you got to do is kind of squish it. There you go. Let me do one more. There you go. You just squeeze it and that seed pops right out, and then we're putting those segments on our tray, and then we'll freeze it, of course. Now, what's interesting about this particular fruit is that it's not very tall, and so I like adding a second layer, and I'm going to do that by adding a very thin silicone sheet that's perforated. It's got a lot of little holes in it, and that's going to allow the moisture to escape, and it's also going to let me put a second layer of fruit on that. But you could do this with, dragon fruit, all kinds of different fruit. I'll put a link in the description box below for the sheets. All you have to do is cut them to size, and you're in business. And there we go. Our fruit is officially done. We are going to take this, pop it in the freezer, and while our fruit is freezing, let's get the freeze dryer set up so that you can see what settings we're going to be using to get everything up and going. I'm going to hit the Customize button on our Harvest Right freeze dryer, and here's where we get to play with the settings. I want the initial freeze to be -20 degrees, and I want the extra freeze time to be about 5 hours. If you can't pre-freeze your food, I would definitely increase that to probably 10 or 12 hours as far as extra freeze time. You definitely want your food very cold when that freeze drying process begins. Our dry temp is going to stay at 125 Fahrenheit, and our extra dry time we're going to set to 12 hours. We're probably not going to need that extra dry time, but it's always good in the event that it happens to stop in the middle of the night or something like that. The chamber is going to cool. Once it cools, which normally takes about 15 minutes, we can load the fruit into the chamber. And that's really kind of it. The machine will start to kick into its own settings. It'll go through the freezing cycle, and then it'll begin the drying cycle while it's under vacuum. A total of 36 hours have passed, and our food is now officially done. Freeze-dried food is great for long-term food storage. I mean, you can get up to 25 years of storage when stored in, Mylar bags with oxygen absorbers. But what I like about it is that it retains about 90% of its original nutritional value, and you can put them also in, mason jars and just have them as snacks or add them to recipes or whatever you want and use them right now. This is our lineup. Check out this soursop. Very, very dry, ultra crispy, beautiful looking rose apple. I'm loving how freeze drying actually preserves, the quality of the fruit. Check out the blackberry. It almost looks like a raspberry now once it's done freeze drying. Matter of fact, you know what? Let's give it a taste.
All right, guys, first up is the blackberry. And check out that beautiful color transformation after it's been freeze dried. Very interesting. Let's see how it tastes. Woo! Wow, that is incredibly tart. I will say that these weren't the sweetest blackberries coming in, but freeze drying them has magnified their acidity, and they are like little sour bombs. They also have a bit of a seedy bite, if you know what I mean. Okay. The flavor also tends to be a little bit more like a cooked blackberry flavor, almost like you would find in a cobbler or a blackberry pie, which I don't mind. I personally love blackberries. It's one of my favorite fruits. And at the end of the day, I do not think that freeze-drying blackberries improve the quality of the fruit like it did with some of the other ones. Although it did improve the shelf life, I still prefer fresh blackberries. All right, next up is the rose apple. Now, I have had this fruit fresh a couple of times, and to be completely honest, I wasn't very impressed. It was pretty bland, not very sweet, a little acidity, but there just wasn't a lot going on with that fruit. And that could have been the condition of the fruit that was given to me. Let's see what the freeze-dried version tastes like. I can tell you that it is super crunchy, almost like a cracker. Let's give it a bite. Oh, that's totally different. Wow, that's actually quite nice. Totally different experience. I am loving that. I mean, the sweetness comes through. I'm loving the texture. To me, this actually tastes a little bit more like a pear that's been dipped or soaked in rose water, if you're familiar with what that ingredient is. It's absolutely amazing. And I think that I prefer the freeze-dried version of the rose apple. It should be called rose pear, but the rose apple over the fresh version. All right, next up is the blueberry, another one of my favorite fruits in the fresh form. I will say that the blueberry tends to be an internet favorite when it comes to freeze-dried fruit. Let's give it a taste. I can see why. Wow, that's good. It's tart, but not as tart as the blackberry. The blueberry flavor is just magnified. They're crunchy and so packed with blueberry flavor. That's an absolute winner. But I'm going to be honest, I love the fresh version. I love the freeze-dried version. That's a toss-up for me, so I could have it either way. Very good. Let's try the guanabana fruit, also known as the soursop fruit. And I'm going to tell you that I've got a love-hate relationship with this fruit. I love the flavor, so if there's drinks or desserts that have the guanabana in it, I love it, but I don't like the texture. Textures like that, kind of like oysters or whatever, they tend to mess with my mind, and I have a very difficult time eating them, so I don't eat a lot of that fresh fruit. But right off the bat, I can tell you that the freeze-dried version, very crispy, kind of like a wafer or a cracker. Let's see how it tastes. Wow, that's delicious. This may be my favorite freeze-dried fruit to date. It's sweet, sour. It's got this beautiful guanabana flavor. The texture is perfect for me. It's crunchy at first. It kind of melts in your mouth. That's a winner. 10 out of 10. No question about it. All right, we've got two left. We've got the bilimbi and we've got the mulberry. Let's try the mulberry, and then we'll save this one for last. This is supposed to be the most sour fruit on the planet. We'll see about that. Down with the mulberry. Wow, I like the mulberry. I didn't think I was going to like the mulberry, but I like the mulberry. It's certainly a lot less messy to handle in the freeze-dried version. Your hands aren't going to get stained purple. It's sweet. It's got a very concentrated mulberry flavor, and it's crunchy, like a little crunchy fruit snack. Wow, that's pretty good too. Not as good as the guanabana, but in this lineup, probably second favorite. That's really tasty. Let's go in with the bilimbi. I guess that's how you say it. I'm not sure how to say it. Let me show you what it looks like. It looks kind of like a little pickle, actually, fresh. That's what it looks like freeze-dried, and it is also quite crunchy. Let's give it a bite. Wow. Oh. Whoa. Wow. Okay. I'm going to grab one more of those to see if that was a fluke, because that was ultra bizarre. This time we're going to eat it a little bit slower. Here we go. Bilimbi, round number 2. Wow. Wow. Okay. That is not a fluke. That is a straight up acid assault to the back of the throat. The inside of that fruit completely turns into a powder the minute you breathe. It gets sucked down your airway. It's ultra acidic, not a whole lot of flavor outside of that. I don't know if that's a pleasant eating experience, got to be honest with you. Might make for a funny practical joke, but yeah, I'm not sure how I feel about the freeze-dried bilimbi. Probably the most unique freeze-dried fruit that we've tried to date. And there you have it, folks. That concludes round number 3 of our freeze-dried fruit experiment. Let me know in the comment section below what you thought about today's fruit. I gotta be honest, I thought I was gonna love the blackberry, but the soursop, strangely enough, came out on top. Absolutely amazing fruit. I'd also love to hear any suggestions that you might have for future freeze-dried projects. Thanks a lot for watching. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. And if you are new to this channel and you're into food preservation or you're into freeze-drying food, be sure to click that subscribe button and that notification bell, because we've got all kinds of great content on the horizon. Thanks a lot for being here, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.